Jazzcast Pros. Welcome back to Elevating Enterprise, the podcast that gives you a 100,000-foot view of success and the elevator access to get there. I am Jazzy T, founder of Jazzcast Pros, and your host for this special Women Empowerment series, recorded live from the Women Empowering Women Conference here in Rochester, New York. This series is about redefining what it means to elevate. Because yes, we celebrate entrepreneurs, but we also recognize the women inside organizations, the ones leading change, shaping communication, and helping people navigate uncertainty. These women may not own the enterprise, but they're absolutely helping to elevate it. Today, I'm joined by Jackie. She is an expert in change management and corporate communications, partnering with executive leadership to guide the organization through complex transformation. So if you've ever felt overwhelmed by new systems, struggled to get buy-in from your team, or questioned how to lead through change when fear is present, this conversation is for you. Because as Jackie reminds us, fear doesn't go away, but you can still show up to shine in the moments that test you the most. So let's get into it. Jackie, can you please give us your elevator pitch?
Hi, I'm Jacqueline Phichith. Jazzy, first and foremost, thanks for taking the time to chat with me this morning. It's tough when you do an elevator pitch because you try to pack in 20 years of experience into a couple sentences. But here's what I'll say. I'm an expert in driving and supporting people through change. And actually, the harder the change, the better I can support. And so in the last 20 years, I have gone through kind of a formalized training in change management. So I have all the accreditations. I have a master's in adult education, which is a channel in which we go through change. But the core of what I bring to helping people face the fact that fear is going to be there. So how do we show up to shine in the moments where we are really tested? And so actually, as an output of that, I've worked in professional spaces for a long time. I currently work for Cooper Vision and Cooper Companies. But before that, I had my own business, and it was called Inspiration Your Way. And it was all about figuring out what light can you bring to the world.
Oh, my goodness.
So my podcast was Show Up to Shine, and we interviewed fascinating people about how to get through hard times.
Yeah.
And how do they show up with resilience.
I love that. We might have to bring that on the Jazzcast Pros Network.
I think we've got to chat about this.
Yeah, we got to chat about that a little bit.
Chat about this.
I love that. All right, so let's talk about new systems, CRMs. This is something even Mershawn of High Vibe Table Talks talks about all the time. Yeah. It is very daunting to me, personally. So what's usually missing between the moment that someone invests into a CRM or a new AI system and actually seeing the ROI? Because a lot of us just get it and it sits on the shelf, right? But that's kind of what you do. You kind of help people to ease into. So what is that missing link between, okay, I'm going to go ahead and grab this system and then actually getting something out of it?
Oh, it's such a good question. I think the biggest thing is, do we have a narrow focus strategy? When you get a system these days, it can do everything under the kitchen sink. So it's understanding what's the business need that you're trying to solve and then getting everyone from the different functions of the business on the same page.
Absolutely.
Because the thing that I find, especially from a change management point of view, is that a lot of times people miss the first part, which is, how are we using the system? What are we trying to do?
Yeah.
And a lot of times, unless you get that same collective agreement that, oh, wait, this system can do this, and this is how we use it, then you get the shelf issue.
Okay. So that actually goes to one of my other questions. Like you said, one of the biggest challenges is to get that company buy-in, the team to buy into it. Are there any practical ways to get employees to adapt the new process? Especially, I think it's fascinating that we have 3 generations in the workforce right now.
Yes.
Bit of a tangent, but so you have a Gen Z who's like, yeah, sure, no problem. And then you may have a Gen X who's like, no, I've been doing it like this for 20 years. I don't need no robot telling me what to do.
So what you're talking about in the world of change management, we refer to as impacted groups. And so what we do is we stride basically the population that will receive something new or that's going through a change. So I think where you'll see the biggest failure point from people is they don't take the time to really look at who's receiving this. And it might be the same role type, but you've got to look at demographics. You got to go a level down. And then what you do is you evaluate where are the barrier points, where do people get stuck?
Yeah.
So there's this little acronym that we use in this change world. I know I sound so nerdy, but it's called ADKAR. And it stands for awareness, desire, knowledge, ability, and reinforcement. And the whole idea there is if you are going through change, you go through that cycle. And if you get stuck on any one parts of those pieces. So for example, you might be aware a new system's coming.
Yeah.
But you might be like the person you gave the example of and is like, I don't want that robot.
Yeah.
Where are you lacking? You're lacking desire.
Okay.
And that's where you'll get stuck.
Okay.
So an expert in change management will come and say, okay, that group, how do we help build desire? And then that's where the plan starts.
Okay. Love that. Great answer. I know. I want to circle back to the certification. You said you are a CCMP.
Yep.
So what does that certification represent? And, let's just start there. What does that represent? Because I know that's not something that just gets thrown around. You have to know you have to know your stuff.
Yeah. So the change management certified professional certification is basically what it is. It's through a certifying body that looks at years of experience in the field. So you have to have worked in the field for a certain amount of time. You also have to have a lot of case studies to showcase that you actually practice what you preach.
Yeah.
And then you have to take a test.
Okay.
So it's so funny too. I will have to tell you, I hadn't done a test like this in years when I did my certification. And I sat down and I was like, oh, I'm a fast test taker. This will take no time.
Yeah.
It took me like 2 hours, and you can't leave, you can't drink water, you can't go to the bathroom. I was like, I have a 7-year-old. I'm interrupted every 5 seconds.
Right.
I'm not used to this lack of interruption. But anyway, obviously I passed the test. So that's one of my certifications. The other certification I have is the ProSci certification.
Oh, what's
and this
that?
is a professional science-based change methodology.
Oh, wow.
So I've got a couple different certs which have different methodologies that sort of underpin them.
Okay. Wonderful. You recently, as of January, if LinkedIn is correct, stepped into a new leadership role, right, where you're at now. So was there a mindset shift or a leadership lesson that you had to navigate change at that level? So change for yourself, right?
Thank you for asking that question. And yes, your recon is excellent. So I moved from working in Cooper Vision in the global commercial space in change management to Cooper Companies, which is the kind of parent company to Cooper Vision and Cooper Surgical. And now I'm supporting both divisions, executive leadership communications. So
first of all, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so
huge.
much. I would say that the biggest shift for me is getting outside of this feeling of perfectionism and overperformance. And when you're navigating moving into something totally new with new players, I wonder if slightly it's generational, because I sit in that millennium solid generation where it is, I'm a high performer, I'm a perfectionist, I'm going to show up to shine because, I practice what I preach. But also taking a step back and saying, hold on a second, I've already proven myself.
Yes.
I don't need to
that
run,
part.
right?
Take that in. I've already proven myself. Already.
Yeah.
Just sitting here today, the podcast producer at WX6I is coming by to check out what I'm doing. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So it's one of them things like, can I really do this? Am I supposed to be?
Yes.
But then you're like, of course I'm supposed to be here. We've already done, I've been doing this for 25 years in broadcasting, So just to be able to show up as a member of the chamber. So I just wanted to pause on that for a second.
Yeah.
Like, you've already been doing it.
Yes.
So you deserve the promotion and the accolades and, the money.
Yes. And this idea of imposter syndrome has really caught a lot of people, I think, recently. But I think in order for us to move in the direction now with AI is at the center of so much, where people are fearing, it's that story of fear again, how we're supposed to be moving forward. And the big thing I can't help to want to support and motivate people on is the fact that we are humans in the time of AI. AI will never be humans.
Yep.
They will never create like we can.
Yeah.
So let's not fear what AI is bringing to us. Let's instead think how we can better leverage it so that we can show up to shine and we can sit here and feel like this is where I'm meant to be.
I love that. How can people get in contact with you?
LinkedIn is the best place. Again, my name's Jacqueline Phichith. It's the hardest last name to spell.
Okay. Yes. So we'll have that in the show notes so you won't have to figure it out.
You'll never get it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's a difficult last name. I thank my husband for it all the time.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's at least a funny story,
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for being here
My
today
pleasure.
and for showing up to shine here at Elevating Enterprise.
Thank you.
All right. So what Jackie just walked us through is something that every organization and every leader has to face. The fact that change is constant, but alignment is intentional. Whether it's implementing a new system, navigating AI, or stepping into a new leadership role, the real challenge isn't the tool, it's the people. It's understanding where they're stuck, building awareness, building desire, and confidence. And maybe the most powerful reminder she gave us is you've already proven yourself. So instead of leading from pressure or perfectionism, you can lead from confidence, clarity, and experience. That's how you elevate inside an organization. So if this conversation resonated, you'll want to go back and check out our first episode in this series with Jenna Tater. She explains why now is the time for women to step into real estate development and how operational excellence is shaping our communities. And make sure you're subscribed to the podcast because up next, we're sitting down with the presenting sponsor of the Women Empowering Women Conference, the YMCA of Greater Rochester. We're talking with Talithia Best, Chief People and Culture Officer, about how the Y has evolved from a young men's Christian association into a more inclusive space for women and children, and what that transformation looks like right here in Rochester. Because success isn't overnight, it's strategic.